Hi everyone, welcome to Feeling Sisters with Sal. Today is gonna be a day of history because we know it's Feeling Sisters, but we have a gentleman in the building.
Yeah.
Let's all welcome Steve right here, our wonderful guest. Hi Steve, how are you?
I'm doing excellent, man.
How
Thank you.
are you?
Thank you very much.
Oh my
for
God!
having me.
Like
Yes,
this is
indeed.
the first time that there's a guy in the show. Okay, so Steve,
You
first
can
of
call
all,
me Stevie. You can
okay,
call me
Stevie
Stevie.
there,
Yeah.
Stevie.
Yeah.
Let's talk first about. I'm very interested about what you do
Okay.
as a profession, and then we'll go back.
Okay.
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 So, because I couldn't pronounce it, that's why I'm so interested right away.
Okay. All right.
So, can you tell me what you do again, Stevie?
Yes, I'm a certified practitioner of IBP, and IBP stands for Integrative Body Psychotherapy. So that's IBP. It's an avant-garde way of section of psychology. So where normal psychology, couch psychology deals with the mind and helping you understand all that, the trauma is still exists in the body.
I see.
And so the IBP helps people unlock the trauma that's in the body. So we do things such as deep breathing, we have balls, we have straps that kind of get you to release when you are talking about your trauma. So typical couch therapy, you sit there, it's a 50-minute session. By the time you get into something deep, 10 minutes are left and you go, right? With IBP, by the time you start the breathing, the brain, the physiological connection allows you to get right into it. Just what is the trauma, where you're at with it, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is it like this kind of therapy? Is it like, for example, if you have a PTSD, is this something that helps them out at the same time?
Most definitely.
I
Most
see.
definitely. It's the same thing. All versions of anyone who goes to therapy. This is just another tool to help assist those. So when I went through it, I went as an allied professional, which means that I don't have. I'm not an MFT. I don't have a degree in psychology. I have an interest in it. I want to use the knowledge of IBP in my profession, which is being an actor. So I was captivated by the results I've seen many people go through with IBP to become more connected, more authentic, and live a life of well-being.
I see. So the transformation happens, like, for example, if someone goes to you, like I go to you, like how many sessions normally, like, and then you see the progress, the transformation of the individual.
Beautiful. That's a great question. So the whole concept of IBP is this. You should be done in a year. They're trying to help you build the tools so you can identify what triggers what we call a current event. So let's say, for example, this is something that happened to me. I was a famed director was going to work with me, bring me under his wing. And for about 6 months, we were going back and forth, his assistant, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. And then all of a sudden, this one day was like, it's going to happen this day for sure. And the whole day went by and the director didn't contact me. And I was injured. And I couldn't understand the depth of the hurt, right? But that's the current event. What it really is, we got a thing called a primary scenario, which is where we come from, where we live, our scenery when we were born. And in that time, we have an injury. And oftentimes, as adults, the things that disturb us, the things that hurt us most, is usually something that's triggered from this particular primary scenario.
I see.
So we have a thing called a basic fault, a belief that we have that is not true about ourselves. I am defective. I'm not lovable. I'm lonely. Those type of things. And what we do is we go through life trying to prove that that's right. And it shows up in relationships, it shows up at work, or whatever the case is. But it's a false narrative.
I see.
And lots of people go through trying to prove it being true.
So this method can help, different, for any kind of person who is facing different kinds of, how to say this, like trauma.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Feeling of rejection.
Yes.
Can be also if they have history when they were kids.
Yes.
It can help them break through those walls.
Exactly. So going back to the director, the reason why that hurt me wasn't so much about what he did, but my father wasn't around for me. And my father made a promise to me that he was going to be there. And so every Sunday I used to go to his place, and he promised me that the weekends would be ours. And that I went there for a year. So when the director didn't show up, it wasn't necessarily what he did. It was the basic fault that I have
see.
that I carry in my adult life. And so with IBP, we get right to it and say, hey, look, you can see how this is. It's still an event of currentness, but it's triggered because of something that's deeper inside you.
Right.
And we all have these things that trigger us. Sometimes you never be at the post office, you get really upset, maybe someone's too close to you or whatever. You have inundation, you have abandonment issues. All of this stuff appears in the current moment, but it all draws back to that primary scenario.
The root of the situation, there's always something that where it started from and gets carried over through the years,
Most
through
definitely.
the years, and then now it becomes a pattern
Yes.
of way of living.
Yes.
And then sometimes, it's like those are unhealthy patterns.
Most definitely unhealthy. And the thing is that we carry them as our truth. We carry them as our shield, as our armor is what we call them, right? So, for example, some people, part of their armor is to make things bigger than what they are. Right? You went to a party, you were there with someone else, you saw exactly what happened. Then you hear that other person say what happened at the party. Oh man, there was this, that, and other, and the beer spilled, and blah blah blah. And you're like, wait, that didn't. Something like that happened, but it didn't really happen. So that person's lies up.
I see.
I'm from the Midwest, and we're taught to kind of play things down. You know what I mean? So not to be a braggart. Right? So somebody might come up to me and say, Stevie, man, I saw you on the Super Bowl commercial, and then it faded into a TV show that you were on that night. Man, that's really great, et cetera, et cetera. And my natural response is, yeah, but I've been in the business for a while. There's other great actors out there. I play it down. So either you're lying up or you're lying down. Guess what? You're still a liar.
So where are we supposed to be?
Authentic.
I see.
And so the whole purpose of IBP is to live a life of authenticity.
Within.
Yes.
And then to practice it also
Exactly.
outwards.
Yes.
Now, what led you to this kind of profession? I know that there was, 3 things that
Yeah.
has occurred in your life.
Yeah.
And one is very, very significant. The first one, the altar. I wanna, if
Yeah. No,
if
yeah.
it's something that you can share.
I can't share this. I was in a 13-year, very blissful, harmonious relationship. It was really, really great. And one of the things that was great about that relationship is that I didn't really believe in the institution of marriage, and neither did she. And we both had valid reasons to do so. And that was part of our charm and love and acceptance of each other. And it was very blissful, like I said. And in that 13th year, I said, you know what? Let's forget about our past examples of marriage. Let's go forward and marry. And she thought hesitantly, that sounds like a great idea. From that moment was the beginning of the end. And then so 9 months later, when we were supposed to have a wedding, I was left at the altar.
So there was engagement and there was the whole planned
The
ceremony.
whole plan. I rented out an Italian villa. It was from the guy was a maestro. His daughter runs this place. And so it was kind of like a cottage. And so all of the family flew in from all over the United States. They were there, and we were all rooting, hoping that there would be a change of mind and whatnot. And the day of the wedding, she didn't show.
Now, how did you deal with...
She did show, let's be, just for all fairness for her, she did show and said, I can't do this.
I see.
And then she left. So there
How
was a
did you
brief
deal with that
appearance.
situation? Because it's normal to get stood up on a date,
Yeah.
and it's another thing to get stood up in
Yeah.
a ceremony such as wedding.
It was devastating. It was devastating. I had 2 other tragedies before that were
Significant?
That was significant, and this was probably the 3rd most devastating thing that happened in my life.
And apart from that, the other 2 would be.
Yeah, with the loss of my parents.
I see.
Yeah.
And I know that there was this vision that you had also with regards to the passing away of your
So
parents.
what got me to IBP was after being left at the altar. I'm not one to blame. Like, I don't like to be like, oh, she did that or he did that. I'm almost instantly going to start looking inward. What have I done to be a co-contributor to the events in my life? I like to look for as much accountability as I can, because I feel in control. I can say these are the things I can change about myself.
Right.
I can't change you, but I can look within and make some adjustments for myself if I want to have that quality. So a good friend of mine who's a therapist, she went through the IBP process. And so she became an IBP, she's an MFT and also IBP practitioner. And she's told me to do the program as an allied professional. And so that's what got me to IBP, because I wanted to look within and I wanted to be accountable, and I didn't want to be left at the altar anymore.
I
You know
see.
what I mean? So I went through the program, and in that program, it had me take a look at a lot of significant things in my life, and one of them was the death of my parents. And I feel like I've always had a strong sense of intuition, trust with myself. I'm not saying I'm a medium or prophetic in any kind of way, but I've had my fair share of deja vu. And for my father, the mother of my children, when we were dating, I spent the night at her house and I woke up in a night terror. And I had a dream about my father coming to me, and he was reaching and he was calling for me, and he was dead. It was real for me. And I woke up and I was crying, and it was, and I gave all the details to the mother of my children. And then I called my mom and I said, "Mom, Dad's dead." And I was, really scared. And I gave her all the details. And then my mom was like, "Boy, I just got done talking to your dad's girlfriend, and he's over there raising hell. You don't have nothing to worry about with him, blah, 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 blah." So she confirmed that my dad was alive.
And then
The next
afterward-
day, when I came back to my mom's with my girlfriend, her nephew was there, and they both had their heads down as I walked in, and then I just felt it. It came all over me. It came over me, and I looked at my mom, and she gave me that look like every damn thing you said about the dream last night just happened, all the way down to what my dad was wearing.
And this is your second, basically, like, experience that, right, currently, like, from one thing to the other.
Yes. Yeah.
And then, your dad passing away and having a vision of it.
Yeah.
What was the last one that you had as a
Was when my mom died. Yeah, when my mom died, and she passed away, and she, speaking about just sticking true to your intuition and your
Yes.
truth, you got to really listen to it, Sal. I mean, you know about that. You know what
Sometimes
I
I don't.
no, well, you know when to know, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so my mom, she passed away, and she was at the hospital, and she wanted me to not to keep the TV on, and I wanted to entertain her, and I was just like, "No, we'll just turn it on." And I was reaching for the television to turn it on at the hospital, and she said, "Don't touch that dial. Do not touch it." And I overrode her, and I turned on the TV, and it was Oprah Winfrey. And Oprah had a TV show on about communicating with the dead.
And then, as you turn on the TV,
That's when my mom passed. And then she reached for me and grabbed me and brought me in and held me as she passed away, as Oprah Winfrey was on the TV show talking about reaching over and crossing over and having a connection with the dead.
so you must have some, some connection, with something out there, in a spiritual level, basically. And especially connecting with your parents, very significant to what your life experiences had come to, and then where you're at right now.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm pretty sure you have transformed to, to something amazing out of all those, trying times. And one of which is, I've heard of is, this whole, it's like there's gentlemen who watches this, this channel. I'm very intrigued about this. On a lighter note, about the method of manscaping and what is this about?
Okay, all right. So I feel blessed because I feel like I have angels. I feel connected on the spiritual level, and I feel like it is my duty to help people have a better life, so to speak.
Because your approach is different.
Yes, yeah. My approach is different. And so I have a channel called Real Spit. And on that channel, I give life advice, unfiltered, right? So, imagine if you could have a black dad give you advice about life, but you don't have one, right? So you would come to me and be like, how do I deal with this? For example, I know a lot of guys, especially when I'm at the gym, I call it Gandalf balls.
Okay.
Okay, so what happens is there's
So
a lot
does
of...
this say you shall not pass also? Or
Exactly. Thou shall not pass, because you shouldn't pass what you got, right? So the typical thing is right. It is.
yeah, you
It's
caught me
crazy.
off guard there.
I'm
I've
sorry.
never heard of it, but chances are we've seen it all.
Yeah. But what happens is the average guy takes a bar of soap. This is how a guy showers. All the soap residue comes down here. And then after a while, they get Gandalf balls. You know what I mean? So it's just like that, right? So yeah, so you got, and they don't groom down here. So
Okay.
so that particular episode is to encourage men to take a look at what's happening
At
down
that
here.
particular region to
And
keep
then-
it
yes.
hygienically
Yes.
in tune with their
I'm
goatee.
just doing my part, people.
And then down there.
You know, yeah, I'm just doing my part. Just,
That
you
is
know what
so
I mean?
true.
Please. So
Okay, so that's a very interesting channel that you have because
Yeah.
you're trying to help other people at the same time, you know,
Yeah.
giving them advices on a level where I believe it's more casual and
Yeah,
more
it's
like
casual. It's
more
casual, it's straightforward. I try to add some comedy in there, but a lot of the stuff that I end up doing on the channel is definitely based on, you know, my education. You know, I have a master's degree in theater, and the stuff with the IBP and all my life advice, and, you know, kind of held with the spiritual connection to it all.
That's very interesting. Now, if there's any message, you know, but this is for the gentlemen. I know it. I know we all about, but the ladies, I don't know if Stevie is single. I don't see a ring, but just saying, putting it out there. I know you guys are looking at his hand, but if there's any message for for people watching about it's like something that you can share to our viewers.
I would have to say this. Oftentimes your intuition, you trust it. Trust it. And sometimes when you start to get intellectual and you're like, well, you know, I could date this guy, but, you know, there's this and there's that and whatever the case is, you kind of get in your own way, right? The mind, oftentimes, I know it may sound strange, is not as smart as the heart. And sometimes you might just want to relinquish all of this busyness up here in the mind and listen to the heart and connect that to your soul, and you will be guided. You will be guided. So trust your intuition. That's what I would have to.
That's wonderful because I mean, like especially as what we believe here in this community, the people who watches this channel, they're very very intuitive. So in essence, it's like there's always a message around us. It's like these are omens, these are visions, this can be dreams, this can be your angels. It's very just important for us to sometimes take a moment and participate in that message. It's one thing to listen to it, but it's another thing to participate. And with Stevie, he was able to participate it, from one level of experience to another. And that's such a wonderful story that you have shared with us, Stevie. So thank you very much for coming for today. And for everybody who's watching Feeling Sisters with Sal, Stevie's channel and all his social media handles will be at the description box. So if you guys are interested, check him out because it's like we don't want anything like that, that you shall not pass. So,
Right.
so thank you very much. We will see you guys again in the next episode. Bye.